Good evening. I'm Garth Johnson. I am one of the people leading a company called Meticulon. We train and assess and hire people on the autism spectrum to perform highly skilled IT jobs. And so I want to talk today about the A word. I want to talk about what it means to be seen in a culture where you're perceived often to be less than human, where you're not understood, where you can't navigate the social norms, and yet you're capable of graduating from university, often with high grades, have an extreme intellect, but 85% of you have never had a job doing anything. And the 15% of you who do work in retail, for the most part. So when I say to you, my staff have autism, who did you think of? Did you think of someone like this? Savantly gifted, but completely socially maladjusted, totally dependent upon a typically enabled person to get through life. Or perhaps you thought of someone like this, who has become a kind of meme for what it means to be an Asperger's syndrome brilliant person. Or maybe one of these people. There's a lot of people who've had a great deal of success, either self-declared and out as having autism, or thought to have autism because of how they behave. There's a lot of very successful people. But chances are that you thought of someone you know, a relative, a friend, a child of someone you know, because autism is on the rise. In 1970, 1 in 5,000 people in Canada were being diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Last year, 1 in 66 people in Canada were diagnosed on the autism spectrum. In Silicon Valley right now, it's around 1 in 34. So something's going on. And the question is this an epidemic? Or let me propose something totally different to you. Perhaps we're seeing the beginning of an evolutionary advantage. I'm not talking about the condition of autism. I have a child who falls into the middle range of the spectrum, will never work for Meticulon, has an IQ of under 70, is not the kind of person that I'm talking about. He has many comorbid conditions that cause him challenges. I'm talking about the traits: precise attention to detail, exceptional ability to focus, diligence, a need to complete, a very literal mind. Our staff typically, routinely outperform the typically enabled people they work alongside. Regularly that we have to go through and job coach through problems where they're so oblivious to the fact that they're blowing the doors off the people they work with that it's causing them social problems at work. They don't care. If you can't do that job, go do something else. They have an exceptional ability to focus. They're incredibly honest, to the point where it often causes them not to be employed. We're going to fund our second location by publishing a book called As Heard in the Interview. So when our people work for us, they go out and they meet the company that they're going to be working for. We don't work in our building. We typically place them out at the employer's location. And in that meeting where they meet the company and they're coming in as a consultant, there are always HR people who insist on asking soft questions and receiving hard answers. And I'll give you an example. Our very first interview with our very first consultant, the HR person looked at him and said, "Tell me why we should hire you over other consultants we might consider for the position." Before I could say anything and jump in, he said, "That is an unfair question. I do not know who the other consultants are. If you give me a copy of their resume and some of their work experience, I will give you an assessment as to whether I am the best person for this job or not." Absolutely right answer, absolutely wrong way to get a job. So in that same interview, the woman that he was going to report to, it was for a SCADA remote programming job, which in Calgary, where we're from, is important work. She said, "The most we've ever programmed in a day is 9 units. Do you think someday you'll be able to get to 9 units?" You know, it never ceases to amaze me that people think it's okay to talk to people with autism or other disabilities and ask them questions about themselves that you would never think is okay to ask a typically enabled person. If you came into work and said, yeah, you know, we hired a Jewish person this week, and you know, I just wanted to know what you think it's like to work with a Jewish person, or a woman, or a person of color. It's not right. And this is what our people face all the time, but they don't have the social nuances and norms to navigate that successfully. And so in this interview, he says to her, well, I've looked at your manuals, because we asked for more than the job description, because job descriptions are broken, and we asked to see what the task actually is. And he said, well, I've looked at your task, and I've done a bit of reading, and admittedly, I've never done this job before, but I think there's inefficiencies in your system, and I think we can do better. I would like to spend some time with the person who wrote your manual, because I think that, you know, we can be more effective. She said, I did. He said, excellent, we'll be working together, and I think we can really make some improvements. On his first day, he programmed 15 units correctly. 2 weeks later, they had him rewrite the manual. Would he ever have gotten a job? Would he ever have got through the social norms of all the BS that we all go through? You and I fake it until we make it at a job. I'm faking until I make it right now. They don't. So here's my question. Here's my cheesy slide. Are they completely suited for the technological world that we are creating at breakneck speed in a way that you and I are not ready to deal with? They can process information. They can weed out all of the stuff that doesn't matter. Baby boomers have a really hard time trying to decide if they have enough resources to do A or B. They want to do both, and they spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. People with autism go A. They're amazing people to work with. And so why is it that 85% of people who have autism in this country are diagnosed and have a university education are unemployed? Why is it that workplace diversity doesn't include neurodiversity? It barely includes people with disabilities at all in this country. But if you have an invisible disorder, and why is it that autism is tied to mental illness? Why is that? Our people don't fit into the typical broken HR norms. How many of you have ever hired a person and hired the wrong person? So what happened in that process? Didn't that person say, well, you know, you should hire me because I'm a perfectionist and I work really long hours and I do all those things, right? There's something broken that we need to fix. Our people are in the tech world, when you find the right job for them and they fit, they do it exceptionally well and they will stay at it for a long time. We have a partner in Belgium called Passwork. They've had people working for 8 years doing the same routine, horrible software testing job again and again and again and love it. Wouldn't you like to have a person like that? So who has the real problem? So Generation A, as we call them, are emerging. And here's something really interesting. If the trend continues, by 2030, 1 in 10 people being born in Canada will be being diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Lots of those people are going to be very bright and very smart, and they have traits and gifts to give us. And we have an opportunity now to make the workplace more diverse and engage them before they logically, oh, that's my time, before they logically remove us and we work for them. Thank you.